So you might have any burning questions before we start. If not, then we can go right into Karen Holford, and you can begin.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me again. And I look forward to talking to you tonight about developing our characters for eternity. And I think this is so important because when I was a parent with small children, I knew that I should be developing their character, but I didn't really know any practical ways to do it. And we just kind of did our best and muddled along. And I wish so much that I had learned this earlier. And I learned it in a very unusual way. I was actually working for the NHS in Scotland, creating materials for children's well-being. And they gave me a book on developing character and said, please make a day-long workshop on this book. And I started reading and I thought, this sounds like she's a Christian. And after a little time, she expressed that her father was a Christian educator. And then it was very clear that she was as well. And it was the most inspiring book. And it really helped me to see a new way about how we can nurture our children's characters for eternity, which I think is one of the most important things we can do as parents. So what are character strengths? Well, they're personal qualities that help us to flourish. They help us to do well in life, to succeed, to just enjoy life, to be healthy and happy and have good relationships. And these are qualities we can develop all through our lives. So although I'm talking about helping children, this has helped me. This can help you. We're all developing our characters all through our lives, I hope. And it's been an incredible journey for me to think about more specific ways I can develop my own character, even at my age. So character strengths are positive ways of thinking and talking and doing that energize us, help us to have better health, life, relationships, and grow in our relationship with God as well. So I love Jennifer Fox Eads. This is the lady that wrote the book, and she has this wonderful quote: character strengths are durable, fundamental qualities that describe us at our best. I really like that it's about describing us at our best, because, you know, I can think, well, I'm actually pretty patient, and think that's one of my character strengths. And then I think, oh no, I remember that time when I was in the queue at the airport for security, and it was very long, and I needed to get to my airplane, and yeah, maybe I was a bit less than patient then. And the time when I was waiting for my husband for a long time after church, thinking I want to get home, and he's busy. Maybe I'm not so patient. I should have been patient then. So maybe patient isn't one of my strengths, and I can feel discouraged. But Jennifer Fox Eads says, character strength describes you at your very best, when you can work at your optimum, when you are well and happy and well rested and everything is as good as it can be. What are you capable of in that moment? That shows who you really are. So we can look at that in a positive way. What can we achieve when we're actually at our best? Because that shows our level, rather than thinking, what do I not achieve when I'm actually at my worst? That's important too, but it's more important to discover our strengths, to see what we can do when everything is going well. And that's encouraging. Peter, I think, talked about character development, although he didn't really know that he was. And I like the way that he puts this, that we keep adding to what we have something else. Make every effort to add to your faith goodness, and to goodness knowledge, and to knowledge self-control, and to self-control perseverance, and to perseverance godliness, and to godliness mutual affection, and to mutual affection love. For if you possess these qualities in increasing measure, they will keep you from being ineffective and unproductive in your knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ. So what Peter is saying there, keep adding to what you have, add new things, and keep growing them. If you possess these qualities in increasing measure, they will keep you from being ineffective and unproductive. So all of us, children, adults, grandparents like me, whoever we are, we can keep growing in increasing measure in the great qualities that are our character. It never stops, and I'm glad for that. There's still hope for us to keep growing. And actually, it's really important that our children see that we are growing our characters too. And we talk to them about that. so that they understand that this is the work of a lifetime. You just keep doing it. And I can say that as I've worked on things more specifically, once I understood this, that it has so enriched my life in so many ways, that it has been worth the effort. And it's a joy to work on character when I do the things that I'm sharing with you tonight. So character strengths enrich our lives because they help us to be respected. The more character strengths we have, the more the people around us will respect us and see us as respectful people. And when we have more character strengths, we are more respectful of those around us too. They help us to learn well when we're children and also as adults, and to work well at whatever work we are doing. The more character strengths a child has, the easier it will be for them to learn. The more character strengths we have as adults, the better work people will be, the better colleagues we will be. I heard that the NHS in Reading or one of these towns like this now chooses people on the basis of their values, which is like their character strengths, rather than their accomplishments. Because they say, we can teach you anything if you have the right values, the right character, the right openness to learn, to persevere, to do your best. And so we realize that character strengths and values, they're very closely connected, and they help us to be the best we can be and to keep growing in that. So when we have character strengths, we also make positive and caring contributions to our community. We're more likely to think about others, to be loving and kind, to be generous, to work as a good team. All these positive qualities that help us to make a good contribution to the community and to our church community. We also enjoy healthy relationships and happier lives the more character strengths we have. And the more character strengths we have, I believe the more we can reflect God's character in the world, because every one of those strengths is an aspect of his many, many, many character strengths that we can't even count and don't even have words for. And they help us to share God's love in a hurting world. So, what character strengths do people value around the world? There was a study done, and the psychologists went to basically every kind of community around the world. And they said, what are the character strengths that you value the most in this culture? So they gathered them all together and they came up with about 24 character strengths, which were valued around the whole world. And the interesting thing for me is when I looked at them, I thought, actually, they are all aspects of God's character. And in some way, God's character has moved into all these communities. And what people value the most are the things in people that are most like God's character. And that's inspiring, I believe. So here's a list. I think there's one missing. I'm not sure which one that is because there should be an even number, but this is the list of character strengths in alphabetical order. And the first one might be surprising, and I'm going to expand on these in a moment, but appreciating beauty, bravery, caution, creativity, enthusiasm, fairness, forgiveness, gratitude, honesty, hope, humor, kindness, love, a love of learning, modesty, perseverance, self-control, sociability, spirituality, teamwork, and wisdom. These are all important character strengths that we can grow on. There are more than this, but these are some that are valued around the whole world. And it's good for us to be able to focus specifically on a number like this, which help us to have a well-rounded character and help us to focus clearly on different ways in which we can grow our character. So I'm going to unpack these, and if you were here with me in the room, I would call out to the children and all of you and say, tell me people in the Bible who appreciated beauty. So appreciating beauty, when I first saw this one, I thought, well, isn't that a bit strange, being able to appreciate beauty? And then I thought, actually, what would happen? What would the world be like if no one appreciated beauty? What would the world be like if God didn't appreciate beauty? I'm looking out the window now and there's beautiful flowers and trees out there. What would it be like if God did not appreciate beauty? What would the sky look like? What would the flowers look like? What would we look like if beauty wasn't important to God and making things beautiful? So the heavens declare the glory of God and the skies proclaim the work of his hands. Everything God has made so many ways has beauty and wonder in it somewhere. And I believe David, the psalmist, he really appreciated the beauty in the world. You can tell by the way he writes about them in his poems and songs. So appreciating beauty of nature around us is a really important character strength. And how do we nurture that in our children and in ourselves? I think it's really good to slow down and stop and really look at nature. And one thing I've appreciated about being in this lockdown experience is going out for a walk. It's so nice to get outside and it's been sunny and you smell the lovely fragrances of spring, and just to walk around. I think my eyes are opened more to the beauty that is around me right now. So I love taking pictures of the flowers and looking at things and slowing down and looking at butterflies. And by slowing down with our children, slowing down ourselves, just pausing to look for a long time at one flower, a tree, even a blade of grass, just something really simple, and looking at how fantastically God has made it, just being filled with wonder at his creation. So spend time with your children, really focusing on all the things that God has made, even just watching a snail creep down the road, looking at its shell. There are just amazing things in so many aspects of nature that we've hardly ever paid any attention to. So can you imagine God fills this world with amazing, beautiful things? And most of the time we're rushing around so fast, we don't even stop to look at all of his gifts and all of his artwork and all of his creativity. And so help your children to slow down yourself and enjoy what God has made. Bravery. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And there's a clue there in that verse about someone who was brave. Joshua, Esther, Daniel, Jesus, Paul, Peter. So many people in the Bible were brave. And you can look at these stories with your children, help them to see how these people got to be so brave. It didn't just happen in a moment. It was built up through their life. Their courage, their experiences, their faith in God grew their bravery. Now, I have to say, bravery looks different for different people. You might not know it by looking at me and having heard me in other times, but it's actually very brave of me to stand in front of people and talk. When I was a little girl and I went to church, very friendly church where I'd always been, I used to hide in the toilet so I didn't have to speak to people. So speaking to people for me is being brave. But for my husband, he likes to go paragliding. He likes to scramble over rocks and jump off things and do things that I see as dangerous. I don't have that kind of bravery. That's not me. But for me, I have other kinds of bravery, and I'm growing that bit by bit. So encourage your children to be brave. Maybe they're afraid. Maybe being brave for them is walking past the house with a dog. Maybe being brave for them is standing at the front of church with a group of children and singing. Maybe the brave thing for them is playing the piano in front of everybody. Whatever it is, encourage them, nurture them, help them to grow that bravery and find new ways to be brave. So because being brave isn't so much a big thing for me, I quite like that the next one is caution. Because you can be brave and do something really stupid and hurt yourself or even kill yourself accidentally. So we need to have caution as well. Be very careful and then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. So caution is really important. And we have quite a group of people in the Bible who encouraged others to be cautious. We tend to call them the prophets, really, because they were warning people all the time. Be careful. Be careful how you live your lives. Be careful how you express your faith. Be careful what you do, because if you make a stupid decision, you can get hurt. Other people will get hurt, and it will not be well for you or for our community. So caution is important. We need to help our children have wisdom to know, actually, that's a very stupid thing to do. My friends might want to do it. My peer group might want to encourage me to do it, but actually it's pretty stupid. So I'm not going to. So we need to nurture that strength in our children. So when they get to teenagers and their friends want to do something really stupid, they can be cautious and they can maybe save the rest of the group and say, you know what, guys, Sounds like fun, but maybe we should do this instead and do it in a positive way that can protect their friends. Creativity. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might, as long as it's not hurting someone. So creativity is actually a really important skill. So you might think that when children are just sticking egg boxes and yogurt pots together and putting glitter on them, they're not really doing a whole lot of useful things. But do you know that some of the most people in most demand in many businesses now and organizations are people who are creative? And particularly at this time, whenever there's a crisis, the people who are creative, they can help find ways around the problem. They can solve, they can create solutions. And you might think that they're just sticking things together, but as children make things, as they are creative, as they have a plan and then work towards it and try things out and it doesn't work and they try something else, they are developing a really important skill of creative thinking to solve problems. And so creativity is highly prized. And so encourage creativity in children, encourage them to think differently, to do differently, to explore their ideas, to come up against a problem and then work out how to solve it, because that is a really important skill. And in the Bible, there were some creative people that helped to build the tabernacle and the temple. And actually, even Mary was creative when she had baby Jesus and there wasn't a cot. And she thought, well, you know what? The manger will be a good cradle. And she put Jesus in there. She was using her creative thinking to solve a problem that she had. Enthusiasm. Now, I would not have thought about this as a character strength, but if you've ever tried to do anything with an unenthusiastic toddler, you will know enthusiasm is an amazing character strength and a great gift. Whenever you're working with other people, if you've got someone there who's enthusiastic, can give everyone else the energy to keep going. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, working for the Lord, not for human masters. And if we try to think about people in the Bible who were enthusiastic, Peter often comes to mind. Sometimes not enthusiastic in the best possible way, but he certainly had enthusiasm and energy. And ultimately, he became a great evangelist because of his courage and his enthusiasm. Fairness is really important. It's very important that as Christians, we help our children to understand matters of justice in the world, big matters of justice like famine and starvation and big issues that need solving, the things in our community that need solving like homelessness and other issues, but also in our everyday relationships. How can we help our children to be fair so that everyone has an even chance, and not to try to win all the time and not to try to grab all the time, but to share in a fair way? And we know that when the early church started, some people said, we're not quite sure it's fair because these widows seem to get more than these widows. And so the early church addressed that and found a special way to make sure that everyone felt they were being treated fairly, because that was so important. Forgiveness is actually a character strength. We know this is a great character strength of God. Also important for us to learn how to forgive other people. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other as in Christ God forgave you. And I think that the being kind and compassionate opens our heart to forgive each other. And so how do we help our children learn how to forgive, how to let go, how to mend their relationships, how to be kind and compassionate and heal them? And that's an important character strength for us to develop in our children and often in us as well. Gratitude. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. So gratitude is a character strength. Can you imagine that? Saying thank you is a character strength. Do you know the more thankful you are, the less likely you are to have conflicts with people around you? The more you say thank you to them, the more thankful we are, the less anxious we are, because there isn't much space in our heart to be anxious when we're overflowing with gratitude for the many, many gifts God has given us. I sometimes think it must be so frustrating to be God because he pours so many gifts into our life every day, and we hardly stop long enough to notice many of them, maybe just the food we eat. So saying thank you is important. It's very important for children to say thank you for their food. Psychologists say they should say thank you for their food, even if they don't believe in God, because they should not feel entitled to things. It's important for them to say thank you. And the amazing thing about being Christians is that we have someone we can thank for all the amazing things that happen, all the great gifts in our life. And when we say thank you to other people, we really lift them up and appreciate them and encourage them too. It's so wonderful. We can do lovely things for other people and we don't mind whether they notice or not. But when someone says thank you, it really warms our heart. And Jesus experienced this. He healed 10 lepers. He changed their life. They were like locked into a life of loneliness and suffering on their own, but he took them all and healed them all. And there was one that came back to say thank you. And I'm sure that thank you to Jesus really encouraged his heart. Honesty, obviously, that's really important. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, etc., think about these things. We need to help our children to be honest. And you know what? Sometimes we teach them not to be honest because when they're honest and tell us what they did wrong, we punish them so much, they think, I'm not going to do that again. So when your child has been honest with you, really be grateful to them, really warmly love them. Say, I'm so glad you were honest. Let's deal with the problem now and not punish them for it, because by punishing them, we teach them to lie. So honesty is really important, but they need to learn to be honest with a loving heart, particularly when they're talking about other people and just, saying something about how they look or whatever. Honesty needs to be done with love when it's expressed to other people. But we also need to learn how to be honest about our own failings. And as parents and adults, we can model that to our children. Are we really honest with them about our struggles? Are we really honest with them about our lives? So be a good role model and nurture honesty and think, what am I doing in the way that I respond to my child's honesty? Am I encouraging it or am I teaching them something else? Hope. I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope and a future. And this was a promise that God gave to his people, Israel. And hope is so important because it's without hope, life is very difficult. It's important that children have something to look forward to. It's important that children feel they can have hope because they have gifts, they are loved, and they can share what they have. So hope is really important to children, to inspire them, to encourage them, to do better, to work hard. But it's also important to have something for them to look forward to all the time, and us as well. And so we're locked down and we can't go many places for a treat or for a celebration. But try and find something that you can do to give your family something to look forward to every week so that they can have hope and look forward to that, because hope draws us through the challenging times to the thing that we're looking forward to. Humor is actually a character strength. So being able to have a good laugh is good for us. In the Bible, it says a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Being able to laugh in a positive way about the things that happen in our lives is such a gift. When you're around someone who has positive humor, it's a joy and a blessing. And they laugh about simple things, they laugh about pure things, and that's really good. When we laugh together with people, that is a good thing. When we laugh at people, that is not a good form of humor. So help children to differentiate between laughing together at something that's funny as opposed to laughing at someone and making them feel uncomfortable and hurt and sad. Do you know that when you make a child laugh, you help them to learn? So some teachers understand this now, and they make them laugh at the beginning of a class, because when children laugh, their minds open up and they can absorb more information. So whenever you want children to learn anything really good, make sure they laugh first. It works for adults too, because our brains are just much more in a place to learn when they're happy and they've had a good laugh. Actually, some of the stories that Jesus told were quite funny in his context, and many of the proverbs are really hilarious. Our children used to like to find funny proverbs and then act them out or illustrate them in some way for the rest of us. And we try and talk about, what does that mean now? That funny proverb that Solomon wrote back then, what does it really mean for our lives? You can look at funny video clips of funny animals. Sharing humor together is a good way to bring joy and hope into the home and to help the children learn how to laugh at things that are positive. Kindness is really crucial. If I was to choose one character strength, like I said yesterday, kindness would be one, because it encompasses actually many of the other character strengths. Be kind and compassionate, just as Christ is kind to you, just as God is kind to you. Kindness is a core aspect of God's character. Many times he said that he is loving kindness. He shares his loving kindness with us. He loves us. He is kind towards us. So whenever we're kind, we are becoming like God. And kindness is sometimes seen as a more feminine character, but actually it's really important to be kind. And we see many kind people in the Bible. It's important for all genders. Jesus was incredibly kind. If we look at the story of Ruth, in there's lots of people doing kind things, and the kind people get blessed. So Boaz, when he's kind to Ruth, he is blessed with her, and it becomes a great-grandparent for King David. And so kindness is a great gift. Naomi was kind to Ruth, and Ruth stayed with her. And so kindness can be such a help in relationships. And so nurture kindness in your children. Help them to find ways to be kind to the people around them. And model kindness too. Show how you are kind to the people around you. I learned from my mum the joy of kindness. She was always doing kind things to people, and she'd take me along and she'd do this kind thing, and I would see the joy in their faces, see the joy that gave to my mum, and think, you know what, I want to be like that too when I grow up. So you can really inspire your children by the way that you develop and show your own character. Of course, love is very similar to kindness. Love one another as I have loved you. So nurture love in your children. Help them to know how to have really positive, strong, caring, loving relationships in the way we spoke about yesterday. Love of learning. Let the wise listen and add to their learning. Love of learning is a great character strength, because when you're willing to learn, you can grow, you can change, you can do all sorts of things. When you're willing to learn from other people, you're willing to be humble, know that you don't know everything, know that there are things that you need to learn. When children love learning, it's so much easier to help them to flourish in life and to do their best and to be the people they want to be, and to develop character strengths and skills that mean they can make a big difference to this hurting world. So who loved to learn? Again, there's another clue on this Bible verse. Solomon loved to learn, and that's what made him wise. And he said, one of the secrets to wisdom is to listen to other people and listen to their wisdom and gain it for yourself. So help create children who are willing to listen to others, to discover other people's wisdom. Modesty. For those who exalt themselves will be humble, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. So modesty is when I don't brag about my own accomplishments. I let other people do that if they want to. People don't have to know what I can do or who I am or what I've achieved. I just let that be. I can just be humble alongside other people and lift them up. So if I exalt other people, then that's a wonderful thing. The Bible said, honor one another above yourselves. So that's lifting them up and saying, it doesn't matter about me. I'm secure enough in myself that I don't have to be lifted up by you. I don't feel put down by you. I'm just strong in my relationship with God. I know who I am, and I can just be humble in relationships. Perseverance. Blessed is the one who stood the test. That person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised. Perseverance. Well, that's sticking at something even when it's really, really hard. And there's lots of people in the Bible who persevered in very difficult circumstances. You know, we often think that Moses persevered. You know, he was with those children of Israel in the wilderness for 40 years. And I feel sorry for Noah. He gets very underrated because, you know, he was working at his task for 120 years. And there's many other people in the Bible who persevered without seeing any results for a really long time, like Abraham and other people. But God says, blessed are those who can stay persevering, stay strong, even when it's hard, and to keep persisting. So we need to encourage our children to persevere, to come alongside them, to cheer them on, to help them understand the benefit of persevering in their life. Self-control. Look at those cakes. And that little boy is being really self-controlled, at least for this moment. I'm not sure what he's going to do in the next few moments. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Self-control is really important, because when we can be self-controlled, we can make sure we manage our emotions well. We are less likely to hurt other people. We are more likely to stay calm and patient and take care of others. And so self-control is a really important skill. It's hard for small children. It's very hard for them to be self-controlled. But as they grow older, help them to resist temptation, help them to have self-control in their life, help them to manage their emotions well, because that's an important gift in healthy relationships in life. Sociability is a character strength. That's the ability to get on with other people, to be a good friend, to work together, to have joy together in a group. And that's an important skill. I think that Mary and Martha probably had sociability. They were hospitable, and that sociability is a big part of that. And there were other people who had gathered lots of friends around them and were cheerful and happy and were able to create a good community around them. So it's important to be a good friend, help children to know how to have healthy relationships with their friends, how to look out for those who are lonely and isolated, how to have fun with their friends, how to share with their friends. All these are really important character strengths that we can help them to develop. And of course, spirituality is a great character strength, because that also inspires all the other character strengths. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. What does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. And this is the core of spirituality, really, to act justly with other people, to love mercy and be kind to them, and to walk humbly with God. So whenever we're nurturing our child's faith in so many ways, we are nurturing their spirituality, helping them to become more like God, and that infuses all their other character strengths. Teamwork. Behold how good and pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. Teamwork is really important. It's a bit like sociability, but it says we can work together, we can collaborate, we can do something better if we all work together. And Jesus did this with his disciples when he fed the 5,000. Whoa, that was a big effort. That took a lot of teamwork in order to feed all that many people. And there are many other examples in the Bible of teamwork, building up the walls of Jerusalem after they've been demolished, building temples, building the ark. So many times when people would come together to work together, because when we work together, we feel encouraged. We have people to give us a hand. The load doesn't feel so great. So encourage your children to learn how to be a good team player. That doesn't mean they have to be top all the time, that they work with other people, they use their skills, they help other people use their skills, so that we can all work together for the best result. Wisdom. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Wisdom is a great character strength. And Solomon obviously had this, and many other people in the Bible had wisdom. And when people have wisdom, they make good choices. They help other people to make good choices. They see the bigger picture, and they know what should be done much better than if they don't have wisdom. So wisdom is hard for small children, but encourage them. Encourage them when they have a problem or a situation to look at it from lots of different angles, how other people might see it, what all the different things that they could do. Help them to see the bigger picture so they can then make the best choice of their pathway through that problem, and support them in doing that. So those are many of the character strengths, and just some little tips on how you can develop them in your children. The handout will give you more ideas as well, so I hope that you will get that. So why are character strengths so important? Well, the more character strengths you have, the more resilient you will be to cope with life's difficulties. So the more character strengths you have or had before you came into this lockdown situation, the more resilient you would be, the more emotionally balanced you would be, the less distressing it would be, and the less challenging, because you're well equipped with many of your character strengths to deal with a situation. You can be patient, you can be creative. I know when we were first locked down, we didn't have time to get much food in, and I was being really creative with what we had in the cupboard, and we had some very interesting meals we probably won't have again. But I was trying to be creative in the challenge and do things as best we could. So the more character strengths we have, when things happen in life that knock us around, we'll have more resources to deal with them, and that will make us stronger and more resilient. I wonder what your character strengths are as adults. You're probably going to be a bit shy about this, but if you were here with me, I would say list 3 of your character strengths. You probably have them all. Actually, we all have all of them, but at varying degrees. Like my bravery is like maybe 3%, and my creativity is a lot higher. And so we can keep developing them. So we start from like 0 and then we can build them up, all of them, all through our life. So it's not like we're born with a character strength or not. We can all have access to them, and we can nurture them in our own unique ways throughout our entire life. So think about 3 of your character strengths that are some of your strongest strengths. And next to each strength, write a specific example when you use that strength. And if you're not really sure what your character strengths are, one of the best things to do is ask someone who loves you, your spouse, your parent, your child, and say, what do you think my character strengths are? How would you describe me? And hear what they have to say. And do that for each other in a family, or in a couple relationship, or in a community, or with your friends if you're single right now. Because it's really important for us to think about what our strengths are and how we know we have them. When did we use them well? To give us evidence of those strengths. That's encouraging to us. Can you remember a time when someone noticed one of your character strengths? What difference did it make to you when someone said, whoa, you're really persevering, or you're really brave, or you're so creative? What difference did that make to you? How did this encourage you? When I was a little girl, about 6, I made something, and it was one of those egg box, glitter, yogurt pot type of things. I think it was a bird, but it probably didn't look like a bird. And I tried to make it so that it had wings that flapped. Anyway, someone said to me, I don't remember who it was, Karen, wow, that's so creative. And I thought, is that creative? Is that what creative is? And I thought, that sounds nice. So the next time I had a project to do at school, I think I had to make a Mother's Day card, and we all had a piece of paper and flower shapes just to stick flat on it. And I thought, I'm going to be creative. I'm going to do something a bit different. And so I did something a bit different. So I was always the one doing something a bit different, trying to be creative. And actually, as I developed my creativity, every time I was given a task, I wanted to do something a bit different with it, a bit creative. And that over time in my life has developed me to become more and more creative. But it started when someone noticed what I did and said, that is creative. And I thought, I want to be more of that. So you can inspire people by noticing their character strength. When you tell children, you're so creative, you're so patient, that was a wise thing to do. Oh, you're such a good team player. When we tell them those things, we are helping to shape their character, because every time they hear those words from us, they go into their life and they go, this is who I am. So if I'm brave and I encounter a situation where I need to be brave, I will remember that I am brave, and I will try to be brave, or I will persevere, or I will try to be kind. So the first thing we can do to nurture a child's character is to be aware of these different character strengths. And there are more. People say to me, well, where's generous? And generous really is part of kind. So sometimes they fit into other characteristics. But there are also many more than these that are listed. But if we start by being aware of these 20 to 24 character strengths, then we can identify them in our children. So help children to recognize character strengths in themselves and in others. Let children know when you've seen them use a character strength. Tell them they made a good choice. And I think that's so important, that they understand what their character strengths are. Jennifer Fox Eads, who wrote the book about children's character, she was a teacher, and she made a heart that every child kept in their desk with all the different character strengths on it. And every day when they opened their desk, they would say, which one do I want to work on today? And then they would try and work on it at school. At the end of the day, they would lift the lid again and look and see, how did I do? Did I develop other character strengths as well? And that is a really important thing. And we can do this with the children in our home, or even our grandchildren. We can tell them what their character strengths are. We can stop at the end of the day and say, how did you do today? What were your character strengths that you used today? And they might say, well, I was a bit this then, and I was a bit that at that time. And then tell them another character strength that they haven't noticed for themselves, but one that you have noticed. Keep looking for when they use a character strength, however small, and tell them, when you did that, you were being courageous. When you did that, that was a really good use of humor. When you did that, you were sharing hope. let them know and help them to identify how they are growing. So help children to choose character strength they would like to work on. Maybe they just want to focus on one for a while, and make a list of all the ways they can practice those strengths. Think about how Jesus used that character strength or other people in the Bible, and see what examples you can find that might inspire them and help them to make a plan for growing that character in their life. Make a list of Bible characters who showed that strength, learn about them. Make a list of Bible verses about the strength, learn those verses in creative ways, make posters with them to encourage the children, and find autobiographies of inspiring people who use that character strength today. In the news every day, there are stories of people who are heroes, people who do something amazing for other people, something amazing they didn't have to do, but because of their character, they went out of their way to do this amazing thing. And those stories can inspire your children and your teenagers as well as you. Make a list together of all the ways you can practice a character strength. Work on your strengths together as a family or in a class if you have a class of children, or yourself. If you're an adult and there are no children in your life, think about what you want to develop in your character, because this is for you too. So find creative ways to remind them about that strength and to think about it, to explore it, and to nurture it in their life. Notice when people show character strengths in real life, in the books you read to your children, on the news, on TV, in movies, whatever they're doing. Spot people showing character strengths and point them out to your children. So you could say to them at the end of the book, so who was the kindest person in that book? What did they do? Who was the wisest person in that book? What did they do? Who was the bravest? What did they do? And help them to realize what brave and kind looks like in action. So I mentioned this before, but at the end of each day, invite your child to list 3 character strengths they've used during the day and tell them what strengths you have seen them use too. You can do this for yourself as well. At the end of the day, it's so easy for us as adults to think of all the things we did wrong and to go to bed feeling, oh dear, all weighed down by all the mistakes we made. But think of 3 character today and encourage your heart. That's what God would want to say to you. Yes, you did these things, but you know what? I saw this in you. I spotted you doing that. I saw that you were really patient then. Keep going in those areas. We'll work on the other stuff too, but know that you did some things well as well, because that's so encouraging to our heart. So as we come near the end of this seminar, I want to think of what will you do to nurture your own character? What are the strengths you want to work on after you've learned about some of these? Do you want to work on ones that are already strong in your life? Or do you want to start nurturing some that you've kind of forgotten about for a while? And how will you do that? How will you nurture your character in specific ways? Think about 5 ways that you can nurture the character strength that you most want to develop for yourself. Or 5 ways that you could help your child nurture a character strength. Work with them, help them to choose what they want to work on. Encourage them, nurture them. Because what you have learned today can make a huge difference. Every time you tell someone else about a character strength you've noticed in their life, whether it's a colleague, a friend, a family member, a church member, you are encouraging them on their journey to develop their character to become more like God's. Do this for each other. Do this in your church, in your families, in your workplaces, because the more often you scatter those thoughts into people's minds about who they are, who they can become, you give them hope. You give them encouragement to develop their character to become more like God. And that is so inspiring. I have a few people around me who will point the things out that I've done that maybe I haven't noticed. And I can't tell you how encouraging it is to hear what other people see in me. And I try and do it for them as well, and let them know what they have done well. Often we are reluctant to say these things because we don't want them to feel puffed up or proud, but we are not. We are just encouraging them on the journey to become more like Jesus. And we often just need that little bit of encouragement that someone says, that was such a kind thing you did. Thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate your wisdom there. And tell people those things in simple ways that let them know you appreciate their character. This is an inspiration for me from 4 testimonies. Every act of life, however unimportant, however small, however tiny, however insignificant you think it is, has an influence in forming the character. And this is why we must point out to children the small steps they're making to develop their character, and why we should tell other people, adults, their steps in forming their character. Because they might not have noticed this unimportant act that actually is still significant. A good character is more precious than worldly possessions, and the work of forming it is the noblest in which men can engage. And as I look at this sculptor working, I just feel like when we're working with children or even the people around us, whoever they are, every time we influence their character, it's like we're taking another little stroke at that clay, we're shaping it to become more like God. And that's the noblest work in which we can engage. So don't shy away from it. Be part of it. Be part of what God is doing to shape the characters of you, your children, and those in your community, so that we can build each other up for eternity. So here are some useful resources. The book is called Celebrating Strength by Jennifer Fox Eads. It's more about working in a classroom, but I found so much that inspired me. There is a website called momentsaday.com, and it has 100 activities to build character in children. And one of the websites I love the most is called letitripple.org. Let It Ripple is created by a Jewish community. They've looked at all these character strengths, and they have loads of resources they've gathered together on every single one of the character strengths that I have described, although they use some different names for them. So they've collected stuff from all over the web, videos, activities, ideas to help build character. And every year there's a character week, and they create materials for every age, from small children to adults, to help us all develop our character. There's videos on there, lots of encouraging things, and it always inspires me whenever I go to that website. So I hope that today you have learned something that will inspire you. This whole concept has inspired me. It helps me to shape my grandchildren's character, helps me to shape the character of the people around me. I'm more aware of my own character, and it has been a huge, joyful blessing. I found that whenever I do this work on my character or nurture other people's characters, I get filled with joy. It's not a burdensome thing. It's not a heavy thing. It's a joy and a delight. And I pray that it will be that for you too, for you and your families. Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for your character. It is amazing. There are so many aspects of it that we love and appreciate, and so many we don't know and don't even have words for, that we will take an eternity to discover. But thank you that we can grow to be more like you. And every time we do, then our lives are more fulfilling, more joyful, more healthy and happy. And so are the lives of those around us. I pray that you will help us to be aware of where we need to develop our characters, how we can develop them, how we can nurture the character strengths of our children, how we can help us all to grow closer towards you, to your kingdom, and to your kingdom here on earth through love and care and generosity with each other. So pray for each person listening here that you will inspire them today, that they will go away strengthened, they will be aware of their own character strengths that are growing in their lives, that they will feel blessed by you, that you smile over them and rejoice over them for how they are growing in their journey towards you. So we thank you for your love and pray that you will be with us all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Karen. We really appreciate that. That was such an insightful presentation, and this reminds me of the things that we've been trying to do with our kids. We have this book, you might be able to see it properly. It's called it's a storybook, the Ladder of Life series, and what it has is that it's from the ABC. It has these stories about love, affection, tenderness, confiding love, perception, forgiveness, empathy, service, sympathy, zeal, devotion, and it gives little examples and so forth in there about each thing with these pictures and so forth of what these things are. So love is this, like for example, love is a lap to sit on when grandpa dog barks too loud, or
Oh.
Love is a cross on the hill where Jesus died for me. And it's just kind of expressing certain things. Affection in a little white house on a crowded street lives a daddy, a mummy, a tiny baby, and me. And it just goes through these sort of character things whereby, you can practice empathy, tenderness. I like this one, tenderness. Donna and I skip down our sidewalk. Donna trips and skins her knee. it hurts. She cries. It makes me feel sad when Donna cries. And so there's a picture of a boy and a girl here. And the challenge is, what do you do? So you help her up, right? So like, I help her up. I hold her tightly. She still cries. And so you see these pictures and it's kind of help to teach them, look, when someone falls, now that's it. Yeah, you help them. That's affection. That's sympathy. And so, yeah, I really kind of associate what you're saying there. We definitely done this a lot more when they were younger. We've gone through the books now. Probably should go through it again because they're forgetting certain things that we've been teaching them. So, yeah, that's wonderful. So I really appreciate that. And having, these thoughts, because sometimes you think naturally, these kids would get certain things as they see it, but you've got to be more deliberate about trying to teach these things and nurture it and find ways in which they can understand, oh, that's how you be affectionate. That's kindness. Well done. That's what you had to be kind. That's sympathy. Well done. Yet she fell down. And so what'd you say? Yeah, you find out how are you? Are you okay? And so it's because sometimes kids can fall down and they might laugh at each other or they might watch each other and do nothing. Just, oh, you fell down, and trying to get them the habit of, hey, if your sister falls down, go quickly, go help her out, ask her, is she okay? Does she need mommy or daddy?
Yeah.
So it's a constant thing. You're always having to train, etc. There's never a day off when you're a parent. When you're out with them, you always got to be watching to see if they're showing good character. And if they're not, you got to try to help them adjust it so that they can remember in these situations, you should try and behave like this or that. But it's ongoing. It's ongoing.
It is. It's the work of a lifetime, hey?
It is.
But I like your idea about being intentional, and books like that, those resources can help as well. Look out for things that develop your kids' character, because that's the greatest gift you can give them. I think it's I didn't really know how to do it when my kids were young. I did kind of muddle along and did what I could, and they all have. I'm glad with how they're turning out, but I wish I'd known more about being more intentional about it. And I think that joyful, that it's a joyful thing, not a heavy thing. It's a delight to work with them on this and to encourage them.
Definitely. And the concept about kindness is such an important thing. I'm always trying to teach my kids, got one boy, one girl. I got two boys, but the little boy's only 2 years old. And my son's 7 and my son's 8, my daughter's 6. And they like to play and some get played a bit too rough, etc. And it's just trying to reiterate, if you hurt, you got to be kind. You can't be too rough, etc. And you're constantly having to reiterate the whole point of kindness and gentleness and so forth.
Yeah.
But it's a growing thing, right? And as they grow, they'll learn more. And as a parent, you've got to be patient with them.
Yeah.
And just keep, they say repetition deepens the impression. So keep repeating the good things you know to do. Because you don't, they'll just forget what to do, what is good.
But after a while, it becomes so impressed in their heart.
Yes.
It's there. And when they're little, they can still be quite wrapped up in themselves. But I saw this lovely thing, wish I'd known about this, that's when, one kid upsets another, does something like takes their toy or breaks their Lego set or something like that. So one of them's upset for what the other person's done. Quite often we get them together and make the naughty one go, sorry, and they're really not sorry. And they say that when that happens, rather than force them to say sorry and apologize, actually get them to repair the relationship by doing something kind. That's much more productive. That's much more important, that they learn that kindness is the way you treat people, and shape their behavior that way, than doing the things that upset their brother and sister. But that also teaches them that if you have hurt someone, you repair it positively by doing what makes them feel loved. The other thing about kindness is that what I learned when I was doing this is that doing acts of kindness is protective for mental health. It's actually for many kinds of depression, not all. Many kinds of depression, doing kind things for others is more beneficial than medicine or counseling.
Wow. So
if you know someone who's feeling sad and struggling, it's harder right now, but the more kind things they can do for others, then it also, they feel better about themselves and they feel happier too. So that's an important thing to be aware of. And if we're feeling down, we can start to think about how we can be kind to other people, and that may help. Although sometimes when we get so down, it's hard to kind of, initiate anything very much. But it's just one of those things that helps us to understand how important kindness is for our spiritual well-being, our emotional well-being, our physical well-being, and our relational well-being.
You're right, because sometimes I'm hogging actually all the conversation here. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm just checking the chat here.
Sorry. I'll check online. There's no questions online right now.
Carry on, sir.
Telling you where the handout is.
Yes. And so, for example, I agree with you about kindness, because on Saturday night, my youth from my church done a wonderful kind thing for me. They organized something on Zoom for me because it was my birthday, and it was a total surprise, and it was so lovely. It made me feel so happy because I wasn't expecting it. And I think that's the thing about kindness, because sometimes it's not expected. And so it throws you off, and it just creates this sort of feeling of maybe worthiness or just happiness, or do you know what I mean? It kind of brings certain things, emotions up to the top that maybe you hadn't felt for a while, etc. So that's a really good thing to kind of remember when you're demonstrating kind acts, etc. It can do wonders for someone's mood, especially if they're feeling down. I think we've got a question here. Yes, I will share the book info with you as well. It's a really good book series. There's quite a few of them, but they're fantastic. I will share them on the group. How do you counter negative traits like pride and selfishness?
Yeah, I think it depends. Some of those things depend on the age of the child. Like the younger the child is, the more more self-absorbed they are. We know that there is a developmental process to becoming more aware of other people. And we have to balance pride with people. Children need to know they can do something well. So they need to know when what they have done is valued and valuable. That's an important thing for them to know. I think a lot of the countering negative traits is actually by nurturing the positive opposites. So if someone is proud, then help them to serve humbly, to humble things for others, and to work on that, to build other people up and encourage them, and to not strive to win every argument or whatever it is, however their pride shows. And selfishness, the more they think about other people, do kind things, that counteracts. So I think it's always better to nurture the positive opposite trait than to focus negatively on the negative trait and help them to grow out of it. So by focusing more on kindness, you can help them shift to be less selfish. So work on the opposite trait. What do I do if my kindness is not appreciated? Am I frozen?
No, you're not frozen. No.
Not frozen. Okay, everyone else is frozen. It's okay. What do I do if my kindness is not appreciated? I think it's really tough when you do kind things and it's not appreciated. And this is probably going to sound quite radical. I would say keep doing them anyway. Well, you just might have to decide, because I don't know the context here. If it's in a long-term relationship that you still have to be around, I think my example from Jesus is that he did a lot of kindness that wasn't appreciated, and he just kept on doing it. I've seen also that kindness, some people have been so hurt in their past that they need a lot of kindness poured into their life before they can kind of warm up to it and then offer kindness again or even appreciate it. I've seen people be so hurt that that's taken a really hard for them to accept and appreciate kindness. Sometimes we do kindness and the people don't say thank you. They don't look like they appreciate it, but actually deep down they do, and it makes a difference. And at some point we have to decide, depending on the relationship, am I still going to try at this? Should I be putting my attention somewhere else? But I leave it with God. I've struggled with this myself, and I think if God has prompted me to do something kindness, I'm going to do it anyway. It's God's responsibility to use that how he wants. It's not my responsibility. I don't need to feel appreciated. I'm just doing what I feel God is calling me to do, and I have no idea how he's going to use that in the future. I might not see the results of it, but I want to be part of where God is at work, and God is at work being kind to all of us. He is kind, sends the sun and the rain on those that love him and those that don't, and he doesn't differentiate. And I think that it's important just to think about, what does it mean to be kind? What's going on here? How can I help the person maybe in other ways? And how is God kind to me? What's his example? When you have tried to instill these attributes in youngsters, how do you teach integrity? I think most of the time we model integrity. Integrity is very complex for children to understand. So I would say model integrity in your own life. Live transparently. Don't try and cover up your own mistakes. Be honest with your children about your own struggles. That helps them to learn to manage their own struggles too, when we tell them that in an appropriate way. We don't have to make out to our kids that we're perfect, because as soon as they're teenagers, they'll figure that out for themselves that we're not. And then they struggle with our integrity if we've been saying one thing and they see that we're doing something else. So it's down to us to actually demonstrate all of these character strengths to our children. They learn them most through our modeling as well as our encouragement. And I think especially integrity. So if you keep your promises, be honest, be transparent, even be vulnerable about your own struggles. And I think that these things are often learned that way rather than direct teaching of integrity. Although if children have been dishonest or done something wrong, the most important thing you can do is help them to put it right. That's how they learn what is right, is when if they've stolen something, they have to take it back, they have to repair. They break something, they have to be honest and fix it, repair it, pay for it. And those things, helping them to bear the consequences of their actions and fix them as best they can, as how we learn integrity.
One of the things, just to jump in there, one of the things around integrity is to help your children by being vulnerable, but at the same time showing accountability. For example, I gave up milk chocolate, but I was struggling with it still. So, but I told them, we don't have chocolate here, okay? No milk chocolate. And sometimes I'll be at a petrol station and I'll try sneak a chocolate into my pocket when I go pay for the goods. And I don't know how she done it, but she would always find a way to be watching me as I go into the shop and see somehow that I put chocolate in my pocket. And she told me, Dad, I thought you said that we can't have chocolate. Why are you eating chocolate in your pocket? And I realized, you're right, you have to model it. So so what we've done, obviously, from that point forward, we had to say, look, guys, even if we have struggles, we need to really demonstrate to the kids that we have to follow through with things we say. So we eventually, obviously, was able to have the self-control and not have chocolate. But what we found is that it was really important to tell our children these things, because that they see it in us and they see that, oh, we've said no to it. So they'll see us in the shop and they'll see us bypass the chocolate and go pick something else up. And they go, yeah, we don't eat chocolate anymore, do we? No, we don't eat chocolate anymore. Fantastic. And it just helps you to be honest and demonstrate self-control. And also another example is just around just helping them just to always tell the truth. Always tell the truth, even if they do something wrong. And look, it's really important that you tell the truth. It's not about you getting in trouble. You get in trouble for lying.
Yes.
But you tell me the truth, then we can help you through the situation. We can help you be better. We can help you through whatever arguments you're having with your brother or your sister, etc. And so we found that reiterating the point of not getting in trouble is better than you get in trouble for lying. Because you would definitely get in trouble for lying, but you won't get in trouble if you tell the truth. And so we found that very helpful. Sometimes they get in trouble because they do something naughty, but it'll be worse if they told a lie.
Yeah. Someone has asked in here, how do you model self-control to a 4-year-old? Well, yeah, first you do model it. I think it's important to remember that really young children, we can develop some traits in their character, but they're still at a stage where they're forming, and for some children, self-control is quite difficult. It's difficult to know here what the self-control is about, whether it's eating too much chocolate or getting angry or, losing it and smashing your brother's toys. So I'm not quite sure what kind of self-control that is. But I think modeling is an important thing. I think helping, also giving children lots of attention. Do you know what? Sometimes children do things that seem out of control because they actually just really need our attention and they don't know how to tell us. And so be really, really look at the situation when the child loses control. I think what's really going on here is this child hungry for time with me? And I think that's often in a 4-year-old what it might be. Also, there are some children who are, what's the word for it? They call them now, I don't like the term, so they call them highly sensitive children. I call them highly aware children. So I was like this, my daughter was like this, and I have grandchildren like this, that they very easily get overwhelmed, flooded with sensory information. So some children might have what looks like a tantrum, but then it's not really a tantrum. They're just overwhelmed by all the information that's going into them, and they just can't handle it anymore, and they just lose control because it's just too much. If you saw the clip yesterday that I showed, or if you didn't see it, go and find the still face experiment, where a child loses control because she's trying to get the attention of her mother and her mother doesn't give it. And in the end, she is so overwhelmed by her feelings and emotions and distress that she loses control. So it's, why is the child losing control? Is it that they're distressed by their not having enough attention from the parent and feeling there's something wrong in the relationship? Are they overwhelmed with so much sensory information, things they're seeing and hearing? Like when you take them to a supermarket, sometimes children can be sensorily overwhelmed by all that's happening there. And that can make them lose control. So it's kind of looking at what the situation is and what you can learn from it about how to help support them to have better control. It's usually something they will grow out of. It's also if you can help them to talk about what's happening and find words for it so they don't have to lose control, that can help. But if the self-control is, eating all the chocolates in the house, then that's a different issue, so it's what kind of self-control is it? But always go and look at what is happening around the child when they're losing control, so you can understand more about what's really going on and how to help them.
Fantastic. We could go on. There's not a lot of things, a lot of sort of counseling out there for parents. There's parents don't know how to access it with regards to how to, be a good parent, etc. But I know there's help out there for everyone. So this is support. Go ahead.
I was just going to tell you one more thing. I don't know whether I've got it here actually. So I've written a book and it's called 52 Ways to Parent Happy Children.
Nice.
And it's by the ABC. It's by Stanborough Press, Autumn House. It's a bright yellow book. It's probably about $5.99. And so if you want more of my parenting wisdom, I wasn't thinking of doing a promo here, but a lot of my parenting wisdom is in that book. And it's like short chapters with bullet points. And one of my favorite chapters at the end is 75 ways to kind of bring joy to your child in really creative ways. So 52 ways to parent happy children. That's right. So you can look for that.
There's a book on love languages and so forth. And I wonder, what's your opinion on the love languages for children? Like how do you know how your child wants to be loved? There's a love language between adults, etc. How they, this is how they like to be loved, how they feel appreciated, etc. These are things that you do for your husband or wife. Or for your children, obviously parents should know, but if they're struggling with that, how do they get some help with that?
I think that I like the 5 love languages I shared last night. Is like 10 different kind of love languages that are slightly different. I think I know one family that tried these 10 things out and they said, we're going to do all 10 every day to all of our kids. And that might sound like a lot, but actually most of those you can do in one sentence. Hey, I love that I'm your mum. Thank you for doing that. They're not big, time consuming things. And they just made it a habit to show love to their children in very simple, quick ways as often as they could. And they found that was really helpful. And to be honest, we found that really helpful. So the more we met their relational needs and did things in their love language, the less we had to discipline them. Really, I can say that just unbelievably. And even my youngest one said to me, "Mum, I can never remember you telling us off." I think, yeah, I'm sure I did. But we found that the more that they feel loved, then the better their behavior is. And that's a principle in parenting for children, that the more loved they are, the better they behave. And the more sad they feel, the worse they behave. So yes, love languages, I think, do all the things that all the things in the 5 love languages, and that maybe the 10 relational needs. See what sparks their joy. Look at their face. See what lights them up. And then you'll know that they felt really loved by you. You can just tell from their response. So they might not be able to tell you outright, "I like this" or "I like this," but just watch their faces and see, and you'll soon learn what they need most. To be honest, kids mostly like all of them. So, but they perhaps become more refined as we grow older. But every way you can show your love to them, that's what God does for us. Even when we're naughty, even whatever we're doing, He just continually loves us in amazing ways. And He's my inspiration for parenting. When I don't know how to parent my children, I just try and look at them through God's eyes, see what He sees, what they're struggling with, how much He loves them. And I always find inspiration for how to treat him or my husband or anybody else when I look at them through God's eyes. And that's, like, for me, the biggest secret, just to see people that way and then see what God wants to do for them, to love them and listen to Him.
Thank you so much for this session. And I think it's a right thing to do right now, is to just have a season of prayer for parents who are just, struggling with whole concepts, and who want to parent better and want to do better, want to raise really loving, kind, and generous children. So can I ask my brother Maxwell, if you're still online, to just coordinate that prayer session? Because it's I know that there are people in struggling marriages, but also there are people struggling in parenting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. We thank God that we can pray to learn to have strength to be better people. We have strong characters, and we're just going to pray that the Lord help us to have that strength of character as parents, as adults, and as children. And we have Brother Philip and Sister Caroline. We're going to pray for us. I'm going to ask Brother Philip to pray for parents and those who are mature, to believe that they can develop their characters and that the Lord can help them to become better. And then Sister Caroline will close and pray for the children, for them to be obedient, and for them to be malleable, their characters to be able to be molded in the way that Christ wants them to be. So I'm going to ask Brother Philip to pray, and then Sister Caroline will pray soon after.
Thank you so much for your goodness, your love, and mercies unto us. Thank you for your blessings, the wonderful session that you are taking us through, with a reminder of the strong tower that we need to run to. That is you, Lord, that we can come regardless of how far our characters has been. You are able to rebuild us in the character of Christ, to be able to live, to exhibit that character that you will impute in us, so that we, within our sphere of influence, could be able to impact on others, that we will truly be epistles that others will read us to know even you. This evening, as you have given us the privilege to read and to study and to learn together character traces that we can use as parents to help nurture and our children. May you help us, oh Lord. Sometimes we listen to wonderful information from you, but how to implement them become very difficult for us. And therefore we call upon you to give us the strength, to give us the power, and the ability to be able to implement what we have learned together. As your word indicates that faith with no action is vain, may you help us to be able to put what we have learned into practice. We pray, oh Lord, that you will continue to bless Sister Karen and the family as they go around the world teaching and encouraging people to look unto you to develop your character. May you continue to be with them and bless their ministry, and may your will be done in their life. We thank you for this evening, and may you continue to be with us throughout the session for us to learn more about you, so that we will be ever ready to commit our life and surrender our characters to you, so that you will help us build the character of Christ. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
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 Amen. Father, and as we come before your presence tonight, we thank you for all of you have learned tonight as parents. You know, we're not too young or not too old to learn something new. And as we embark on applying what we have learned, and our children may form characters that we may be their example. A Christ-like character is important more than anything else in this world. And as we imbue upon them to be more kind, or change how we talk to them, or we behave, Lord, that you may give us the wisdom. Solomon asked for wisdom. He said, Lord, I want to know how to lead your people. I'm asking for wisdom. You gave him riches. So as you give us the wisdom how to grow them, and they may see the light at the end of the tunnel, growing up, we're teenage age, we remember growing up as children, that we may show them love, because love covers a multitude of sin. And we were children at one point, and the mistake that our parents made when we were younger is a different era that we can learn so much and we can grasp so much now. So Lord, as we put our children before you, of course, Lord, as we nurture them, that they may see Jesus in us, important, and come to glorify the Father which is in heaven. Help us to love them. You said we have to be like little children to enter the kingdom of heaven. So as we nurture our children, as we show them the way to build characters for heaven, Lord, help us to build our character too, Lord. So the more we have to be patient, kind, loving, long-suffering, and all of those things, selfishness have to go, because our children need, the more we put nurture them, the more we put away selfishness, pride go out the window, so much go out the window. So as we nurture our children in the Lord, and she's train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's holy, not depart from it. Help our children not to depart from you, Lord, not from the nurturing and the teaching that they learn, and that love may be in our homes. Love shall be in our homes, that we may be one with you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for the prayers. We just hope God will bless us as families, and that He will smile on us, and that our families can be like the family in heaven. I'm going to go to Brother Eugene to close the session for us. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you all for attending this week's session. Can I have back this? Can you put me back onto the screen, please? I'd like to thank you all for attending tonight. I thank you so much for just being able to support us, Karen. We really appreciate the presentation that you've done for us. I thank you so much just for the time of the last 2 days. It's been wonderful. We'll definitely use those. We'll definitely use those. You throw me off now. Use the material that you have provided us, and try to use those skills in looking after our children and train them in the ways of the Lord. So for tomorrow, everyone. Yeah. So for tomorrow, everyone, we will be doing a financial workshop, and I believe it will be by Brother Nigel, Elder Nigel. He'll be doing that for us. And you can imagine, we're going through furloughs. People have lost their jobs. People are struggling to find jobs, etc. They've run out of savings. They're having to ask for mortgage holidays, rent holidays. So how are we going to get through this COVID-19 financially? How are we going to survive afterwards? What's the options for us? What's out there? How can we manage the little that we have? So hopefully some of those questions and more will be answered. And so that will be tomorrow. And we have on the 20th, we have someone called Paul Thompson, and he's going to be expanding upon the points that are introduced tomorrow. So for tonight, everyone, thank you so much. For those on YouTube, thank you very much. For those who haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we shall see you all tomorrow. This is recorded. If you want to go back and see anything, or just take some more notes, just go back on our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to find out a little bit more about the things you may have missed, and see the interesting videos that we have posted previously. So thank you all, and good night.
Good night. Thank you, Karen.
Good night. Thank you.
God bless.
Goodbye all. Take care.
Bye, Karen.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Love you to see you all. Thank you for having me.
Everyone.
No need.